Hello friends, this is the fourth lecture of our endocrine series and we are discussing about the metabolic effect of the growth hormone. In previous lecture, we already discussed about the pituitary hormone and the very introduction of a growth hormone. And this is our last slide in our previous lecture, metabolic effect of growth hormone. As you can see in this figure, the effect of growth hormone in our body is like this: protein metabolism, promote protein synthesis, then conserve carbohydrate, and finally use fat for energy. So basically what growth hormone do? Growth hormone increase protein, decrease fat, and conserve carbohydrate. To remember in a simple word, remember like this: promote protein, conserve carbohydrate, and cut the fat, right? So basically it increase the mobilization of the fat from the adipose tissue. Now how growth hormone perform its action? So basically growth hormone perform its action directly as a growth hormone and indirectly by producing some proteins. So here is an experiment that is given in Guyton, that when growth hormone is directly injected into the cartilage outside our body in culture, it fails to grow. While when we inject growth hormone inside a living animal, a person, the person starts growing. So how the growth hormone causes its action and improve or increase the growth? So as you can see in this figure, this one is brain. From anterior pituitary, growth hormone is secreted. That growth hormone is go to the liver, and inside the liver it produce some chemical or substance. That substance induce the action of the growth hormone. So some of the action of the growth hormone is directly due to growth hormone, and majority of its action is basically due to the substance that is secreted by liver under influence of the growth hormone. So liver produce a protein in response to growth hormone. That name of that protein is the somatomedin. You heard the term similar, that there is a somatostatin. That somatostatin term we are going to use for growth hormone inhibitory hormone, and this somatomedin term is going to actually causes the effect of growth hormone, right? So this somatomedin will increase all aspect of the growth. Now it has an insulin like action, that's why it is also known as insulin like growth factor, and in short form it is well known as IGF-1. So you might be wondering, there is IGF-1, so there might be IGF-2, right? Where this IGF-2 came from? So the answer is that IGF-2 is basically also known as MSA. MSA means multiplication stimulation activity. It is produced in fetus for growth during the fetal development. So you see IGF-2 produced first, after that IGF-1 is produced, right? So this IGF-1 has a 4 subtype, or somatomedin has a 4 subtype. It is basically A, B, C, D. Somatomedin A, somatomedin B, somatomedin C, and somatomedin D. The most important one is the somatomedin C. Now here's the one thing I would like to highlight in this slide, that it has insulin like action. So it is more or less insulin like structure, but not actually the insulin, right? So there might be some of the difference between the somatomedin or the insulin like growth factor 1 and insulin, right? So the difference between insulin like growth factor and insulin is that in IGF-1 C chain is not separated, while in case of insulin C chain is separated. And the second difference is that in IGF-1 A chain has extension known as a D domain. That D domain is absent in insulin. Got it? So there are two differences between insulin and insulin like growth factor. One is C chain, another one is D domain. Now that is not given in a standard textbook, so you might be it is a good thing to write it down somewhere. Now let's start the metabolic action of the insulin. So effect of carbohydrate metabolism. So what this growth hormone is actually doing in carbohydrate metabolism? Growth hormone is going to conserve the carbohydrate. So basically growth hormone is increase the blood glucose level. Now how the growth hormone will increase the blood glucose level? You need to understand one thing. Let's compare the blood glucose level with the money that you have in the bank account. How will you increase the money in your bank account? Two things you need to do. One thing, you need to decrease spending of money, right? You have to decrease your spend. Second thing, you need to earn more money, right? Same thing will growth hormone will do with the glucose. It decrease the use of the glucose and increase the production of the glucose. So first action of growth hormone to conserve carbohydrate is decrease utilization of glucose, and second thing, it increase production. So basically it increase gluconeogenesis. You heard the term, right? Gluconeogenesis, synthesis of new glucose from non carbohydrate source. Third one, it decrease the use of the glucose, or it decrease the breakdown of the glucose by decrease glycolysis. So you see, basically what growth hormone will do, growth hormone increase the blood glucose level. So whenever the blood glucose level hit to a certain value, it will leads to increase insulin secretion. Now this insulin secretion on the other hand will oppose all the action of the growth hormone and decrease the blood glucose level. But we do not need insulin to do its work. So what growth hormone do? It causes insulin resistance. So these are the action of growth hormone over the carbohydrate. So main action of growth hormone to increase carbohydrate or increase the blood glucose level is it causes the insulin insensitivity. It causes insulin resistance. In my previous lecture I told you that there are three hormones that are going to increase the blood glucose level. One is growth hormone, another one is glucagon, third one is glucocorticoid. These three hormones will increase the blood glucose level via different mechanism. This growth hormone is mostly causes increased blood glucose level by decreased insulin sensitivity. On the other hand, glucocorticoids will increase blood glucose level by increased gluconeogenesis. And the third hormone, glucagon, causes the increased blood glucose level mainly by glycogenolysis. It promotes the glycogenolysis. Now here's the thing, how growth hormone causes insulin resistance. Let's see how growth hormone causes insulin resistance. Now in our subsequent slide I will tell you that growth hormone is going to increase free fatty acid inside the blood. Now this free fatty acid is going to impede the action of insulin over the glucose, and so it leads to increased blood glucose level, and ultimately it causes diabetic type of situation. So growth hormone is basically a diabetogenic hormone. So whenever there is excess growth hormone secreted, it ultimately leads to the diabetes, and that type of diabetes it's known as pituitary diabetes. Got it? So growth hormone causes pituitary diabetes. On the other hand, glucocorticoids, that we are going to learn in very detail in steroid hormones, that glucocorticoids is going to make diabetes. That diabetes is known as adrenal diabetes. So these are the difference between pituitary diabetes and adrenal diabetes. Now based on this slide, there is a comment that is generally asked 3 times in exam. Growth hormone is known as a diabetogenic hormone. What you should write it down in such type of comment? You need to write it down the action of the glucose. Growth hormone causes decreased glucose utilization. Second thing, it causes increased gluconeogenesis. Third thing it causes is decreased glycolysis. And the most important action of the growth hormone is that it causes insulin resistance. So all these 4 action will ultimately leads to increased blood glucose level. Got it? And this increased blood glucose level will leads to growth hormone, make it as a diabetic hormone or diabetogenic hormone. Got it? This is how you should write it down in the comment. See, the comment is basically 2 marks question, and you need to write it down more or less 4 to 5 lines. That is enough, but that 4 to 5 line might be the most important one. Now the next one is the effect of protein metabolism. Now what growth hormone do with the protein is, you can remember the figure that I show you, it causes the increased protein synthesis. So the effect of growth hormone over protein is that it preserve and promote the growth preserve and protein preserve. So growth hormone is going to promote protein synthesis and preserve protein, right? So how it will preserve protein? By decreasing the protein catabolism. And how it promotes the protein synthesis? By increasing all the steps necessary for protein synthesis, starting with the first one is increased DNA transcription, then increase mRNA translation, and finally increase amino acid transport inside the cell that are making the protein, right? So this is the effect of growth hormone over the protein synthesis. Now the effect of growth hormone on fat metabolism. What is the effect of growth hormone over the fat metabolism? It cut the fat, right? So basically it use fat for energy. Now how it will increase usage of protein for energy? First thing that it will do, it increase fatty acid mobilization from the adipose tissue. And how the growth hormone will increase fatty acid mobilization? If you remember that in our early clinical exposure I take a diabetes, in that diabetes I will teach you a very detail of the two hormonal action. One is the hormone sensitive lipase, another one is lipoprotein lipase. If you remember that, in that lecture I give you that the hormone sensitive lipase is going to increase the release of fatty acid from the adipose cell, and lipoprotein lipase causes increased storage of the fatty acid inside adipose tissue. This lipoprotein lipase enzyme will be stimulated by insulin, and hormone sensitive lipase will be stimulated by counter regulatory hormones. That counter regulatory hormones are the glucocorticoid, then the glucagon, then the catecholamines, and growth hormone. So growth hormone is one of the member of counter regulatory hormone. So growth hormone increase fatty acid mobilization by activate the hormone sensitive lipase. Got it? Now what it do next? Once the fatty acid is mobilized inside the circulation, it increase the utilization of the fat for the energy. How fat is used for energy? By increasing conversion of the fatty acid into acetyl CoA. Now this acetyl CoA term might be familiar with you guys, right? Acetyl CoA is the first step in the Krebs cycle, and via this Krebs cycle this fatty acid will be used for energy. Now here's the thing, if the growth hormone level is too much in our circulation, what will it will leads to? Increase mobilization of fat from the adipose tissue. More amount of fat will be mobilized from the adipose tissue. Ultimately it will result in increased free fatty acid inside the plasma. Now here's the thing, up to a certain limit this fatty acid is going to used as a source of energy, and that limit has been reached, then this free fatty acid will enter inside the mitochondria and it will converted itself into acetoacetic acid. Now this acetoacetic acid is a member of a family known as a ketone bodies. So ultimately it leads to ketosis. So growth hormone, you see, it is a two thing, it is one is ketogenic, another one is diabetogenic. Got it? Now let's see the effect of growth hormone over the bone. So before we understand the effect of growth hormone over the bone, let's discuss how many types of bone cell are there. How many types of bone cells? So here's the diagram that I'm going to show you, that show three subclass of the bone cell, but basically there are four type that you need to understand. Chondrocyte, it is going to make the cartilage. Now osteoblast is going to make that cartilage into the bone. It is a bone forming cell by mineralization of the cartilage. Third hormone that we are going to understand is that osteocyte. Now once this osteoblast is going to trap inside, that it is converted into osteocyte. Now where and when these osteoblasts get trapped, that is going to I'm going to discuss that thing in very detail once we learn the calcium and its metabolism and the hormone that is regulate the calcium inside our body. So don't worry, I'm going to take this osteocyte in very detail in our calcium class. Now last one is osteoclast. As you know, osteoclast is the bone removing cell. Now how this osteoblast make the bone, how osteoclast remove the bone, again we are going to learn in very detail in our calcium classes. Right now you need to remember that there are 4 type of cell, and the most important one in our discussion are the chondrocyte and osteoblast. Clear? Now effect of growth hormone in our body, in over the bone. Now here's the figure that shown that osteon written on the top of it. So this, what is the osteon means? Osteon is the functional unit of bone, right? In the same fashion, when we talk about kidney, nephron is the functional unit of kidney. That nephron is going to this nephron is the functional unit of kidney. It leads to all the it makes all the function of the kidney. Same fashion, osteon are the functional unit of bone. Same fashion, neurons are the functional unit of nervous system. So you need to remember two terminology that sounds familiar. One is the osteon, another one is osteoid. The spelling is like this: osteoid, osteoid. Now this osteoid is unmineralized organic component of the bone. Now what is osteoid? We'll learn in detail in calcium metabolism. So right now remember that osteon is the functional unit of a bone. In this figure I show you one osteon. That osteon has a different cells. One is osteocyte, over here it is osteoclast. There are lining by osteoblast, right? Over here there is a canal known as central canal. This entire portion we will be learn in detail in calcium metabolism. What the growth hormone will do with the bone? So growth hormone will increase the bone growth. What it causes to bone, it is that it increase the osteoblastic activity, it increase the bone formation activity, and it increase deposition of the new bone. On the other hand, growth hormone will also increase soft tissue mass. So basically it increase the organ size. And as far as the bone is concerned, growth hormone will increase the thickness of the bone, as well as it causes long bone to grow into the length. Right, now how growth hormone increase this growth hormone increase bone growth. Now growth hormone has a two type of action. Remember this slide, it is very important because it is frequently asked in MCQ. Growth hormone will increase bone growth by two fashion. One is the direct action by growth hormone, another one is indirect action via IGF. Now this IGF means insulin like growth factor 1. Now growth hormone directly stimulate the cartilage that is present inside the epiphyseal plate. So the word that I am going to use it directly from the Ganon. Growth hormone stimulate the differentiation and proliferation of cartilage cell in epiphyseal plate of the long bone. You know where the epiphyseal plate is situated, right? So and it also widen the epiphyseal plate, so it increase the linear growth. So until the epiphyseal plate is fused with the diaphysis, there are chances that the length of the bone will continuously increase. So what growth hormone do? It stimulates the proliferation of the cartilage that is present inside the epiphyseal plate. So basically it increases the length of a bone. Now what is the effect of growth hormone indirectly? It's indirectly via somatomedin. It stimulates the osteoblast replication. It promotes the collagen synthesis inside the bone. It is basically the organic matrix that is situated inside the bone, and it increases the deposition of chondroitin sulfate. Again, the entire bone structure we are going to learn in detail in calcium metabolism. So right now remember the important things only. Now how growth hormone increase bone length? Now as I show you in the previous slide, growth hormone will causes deposition and proliferation of the epiphyseal plate. It is via that action it will elongate the shaft to push the epiphysis apart. You know the anatomy of the bone. This one is the diaphysis, this is the epiphyseal plate. If this epiphyseal plate is continuously growing in the distant manner like this, the length of the diaphysis will be increased. So basically long bone will grow in length. Now at some point this epiphyseal cartilage is used, so no more epiphyseal cartilage is remain, right? So at some point of the time epiphyseal cartilage is used and no epiphyseal cartilage will remain, and after puberty shaft can't increase in length. So basically after puberty, if there is a growth hormones increases higher level, there is increase only in thickness. So up to puberty or before puberty, if the growth hormone is more in amount, the length of the diaphysis will increase pronouncedly. If the growth hormone secretion is more after the puberty, then shaft cannot be elongated. It will lead to increase in the thickness of the bone. Now this is all about the effect of the growth hormone. Now how this growth hormone produce its effect is the metabolic action of the growth hormone. Now let me give you a single sentence. Let's see how you can remember our previous lecture. Growth hormone will use Jack and state pathway. You remember the Jack and state pathway? It is we are discussed that Jack and state pathway under the heading of tyrosine kinase associated mechanism. Let me show you the diagram how this pathway will look like. This is the figure. See, this yellow color ligand is the growth hormone. These two red and green one are the homodimer of the receptor. You see the receptor is very big. It is made up of 620 amino acid protein. It is basically dimeride, this homodimer protein, and whenever the growth hormone bind with the GH receptor, its intracellular domain that is situated inside the cell get activated. That activated intracellular domain will activate this JAK. Once the JAK is activated by phosphorylation, it phosphorylates the other transcription protein or other kinase, this state kinase. Once the state kinase is phosphorylated by this, you see there is a P attached over here. This P means phosphorylation of the state protein, this state kinase. This state is going to make a dimer. Two state combine to make a dimerization. This dimerization is essential for the receptor action. Now this dimerated state is going to translocate inside the nucleus, and this translocated state will leads to increased transcription of the DNA sequence. That's how this JAK and state pathway will work. Now what is the full form of JAK and what is the full form of state? That I already told you in our receptor action lecture. JAK means it is a genus tyrosine kinase, and the state means, anyone remember the full form of state? It means that signal transducer and activator of transcription. Signal transducer and activator of transcription. This is the full form of state. Now how will you write it down once this thing is asked in exam? Let me show you. Growth hormone has a two domain that can bind with the receptor. When it bind with the receptor, it activate the JAK and state pathway. Now in between these two sentences, you might be able to add more sentence like this. The intracellular domain get activated, and this intracellular domain will leads to activation of the JAK, and this JAK is going to activate the state, and this state dimer will form and it will translocate inside the nucleus. Now the sentence that I am going to use are from the Gannon. So stick to that thing right now. This JAK is cytoplasmic tyrosine kinase and state is a cytoplasmic transcription factor. When phosphorylated by JAK kinase, state make a dimer, and that dimer will migrate to the nucleus and activate the various gene and ultimately alter the protein synthesis. Alright, this is all about the effect of the growth hormone and the action of the growth hormone. Let me give you the summary of the action of the growth hormone. Now here's the thing, two things you need to remember. One is the direct action, another one is the indirect action. Now growth hormone is actually inhibit the insulin level. It inhibits the insulin by increasing insulin resistance, right? On the other hand, growth hormone is going to make IGF, means insulin like growth factor. So basically directly growth hormone will inhibit the insulin, and indirectly via IGF it make insulin like action. So there are some difference between the direct action of the growth hormone and indirect action of the growth hormone. What are the difference? I will give you on this slide. First, enumerate the thing. Direct action, it will causes epiphyseal growth first. Second one, it decrease insulin sensitivity, it increase insulin resistance, then it causes lipolysis and causes protein synthesis. Now indirect action are the same as the direct action, only two thing is differ from the direct action. Let me show you that thing first. Epiphyseal growth same as direct action, insulin like activity, that is opposite to the direct action, and anti-lipolytic, again it is opposite to the direct action, and the protein synthesis. So you see this growth hormone is directly decrease the insulin sensitivity, and indirectly via IGF it causes insulin like action. Same fashion, directly growth hormone causes lipolysis, and indirectly via insulin like growth factor it causes anti-lipolytic action. You need to remember these two difference between direct action of the growth hormone and indirect action of the growth hormone. Now which action will be produced once the growth hormone is secreted, lipolysis or anti-lipolysis? Let's give that as an example. See, the amount of growth hormone inside the circulation and the amount of insulin like growth factor inside the circulation, that will decide lipolysis will happen or anti-lipolytic activity will be happen, right? In some cases you see this IGF will not be formed. In that case growth hormone directly causes lipolysis. Right? There are certain conditions, and let me show you the applied aspect of this growth hormone action. First is the pygmies of Africa. Now, what happens in pygmies of Africa? Pygmies of Africa are the tribes that have a normal growth hormone, but they don't have ability to rise IGF-1 at the puberty. So basically they have a congenital inability to synthesize somatomedin C. See, the somatomedin C and IGF-1 are more or less same, but I use two different terms in the single slide to make sure that you understand that IGF-1 and somatomedin C are more or less single thing. So even though they have a normal or high amount of the growth hormone, they have a short stature because this IGF-1 action is absent. Now in pygmies of Africa, entire tribe is affected like this. In this figure, this one white man is standing in between this tribe. You see the height of the person will be look more as compared to the tribal people. So that person is normal, the tribal people have a shorter length or shorter in stature. Now you need to understand the second type of the dwarfism, that is Laron dwarf. In some book it is written as a Lévi-Laron dwarf. Now what happened in Lévi-Laron dwarf? There is an abnormality of the growth hormone receptor that is present on liver, and because of that abnormality this syndrome is known as growth hormone insensitivity syndrome. In the same fashion as in pygmies of Africa, growth hormone level is high or normal, and this condition will be diagnosed by low level of IGF-1. Alright. Now the difference between pygmies of Africa and Laron dwarf is that in pygmies of Africa the entire tribe is affected, while in case of Laron dwarf there is an isolated case. Now the normal values, you see growth hormone is weakly attached to the plasma protein, so the half-life is 20 minutes. On the other case, somatomedin C or the IGF-1 is strongly attached to the plasma protein, so the half-life is more 20 hours. You need to remember 20 minutes in case of growth hormone, 20 hours in case of somatomedin C. Now let's talk about the feedback control of the growth hormone secretion. Starting from the top, hypothalamus will secrete two hormone. One is GHRH, another one is GHIH or somatostatin. Now both this thing will influence the anterior pituitary for secretion of the growth hormone. What they do, growth hormone releasing hormone will stimulate the anterior pituitary, and somatostatin will decrease the or inhibit the anterior pituitary to secrete growth hormone. Now that growth hormone will goes to the liver and increase the synthesis of somatomedin or IGF-1. See, I deliberately use this terminology somatostatin over here instead of GHIH. So you can see the two terminology on the same slide. This one is somatostatin, this one is somatomedin written in over here. So somatostatin is going to inhibit the growth hormone synthesis, and somatomedin is going to make the action of growth hormone more pronounced. Now this growth hormone will stimulate the production of somatomedin. Now in feedback cycle, this somatomedin will inhibit the growth hormone synthesis, and somatomedin will inhibit the secretion of GHRH from the hypothalamus. Got it? So more or less somatostatin decrease the growth hormone synthesis directly, and somatomedin will decrease the growth hormone synthesis via decreasing the GHRH secretion and decreasing the secretion of GH. Now factors that affect the growth hormone secretion. Some factors are going to stimulate the growth hormone secretion, some are inhibiting the growth hormone secretion. Let's enumerate this factor first. See, the stimulatory factor are GHRH, growth hormone releasing hormone, ghrelin, that the hormone is secreted by stomach, decrease blood glucose level or hypoglycemia, increase amino acid level, and most one is the arginine. This one is asked in MCQ. Then the starvation and stress, I written down as a single because of the SS, and the sleep. Now in sleep, there are two type of the sleep that you already know. One is the non-REM sleep, another one is the REM sleep. So remember, the non-REM sleep, stage 3 and 4 is going to increase the growth hormone synthesis, and the other sleep, REM sleep, is going to inhibit the growth hormone synthesis. Again, this is also asked in recent MCQ, and the exercise will also increase the growth hormone synthesis. Now the factors that are going to inhibit the growth hormone synthesis is like this: somatostatin, GHIH, somatomedin, increase blood glucose, increase free fatty acid, obesity, aging, and REM sleep, REM, rapid eye movement sleep. Right? So NREM is going to stimulate the growth hormone synthesis, and REM sleep is going to inhibit the growth hormone synthesis. This is all about the growth hormone. Now let's discuss about the abnormalities of the growth hormone. So abnormalities are increased growth hormone synthesis and decreased growth hormone synthesis. Increased growth hormone synthesis is known as hypersecretion of the growth hormone, and before puberty it known as gigantism, and after puberty it known as acromegaly. Decreased growth hormone secretion is known as hyposecretion of the growth hormone. The condition is known as panhypopituitarism. Now let's discuss one by one gigantism. See, in this diagram, the person who is holding the camera is the normal person, and this person is suffering from gigantism. You see, the person is giant, that's why it is known as gigantism. Now what happens in gigantism? There is a hypersecretion of the growth hormone in child before the fusion of the epiphysis. So epiphysis is not fused yet, and this growth hormone will lead to increased proliferation of the chondrocyte over the epiphyseal cartilage, so the person becomes giant. So the clinical feature will be abnormal height 6, 7 to 8 feet, and person become giant, that I show you in our previous diagram. Person having large hand and feet. See, this is the normal hand, this one is the person suffering from gigantism. Then the face of a child that is suffering from gigantism is like that. You can see the tongue is very much enlarged and lips are very thick. That large tongue is known as macroglossia, and person is suffering from thick lips also. So person having thick lips and large tongue. Again, person also have a bilateral gynecomastia, abnormal development of the breast, and loss of libido and impotence. Now loss of libido is that person have a less interest in sexual activity, and impotence has a dysfunction of erectile dysfunction. And the most important one is the hyperglycemia, even diabetes mellitus, because the growth hormone level is increased, so there are more chances that the person having more amount of insulin resistance, and it leads to ultimately leads to pituitary diabetes. Second one is the acromegaly. Now in acromegaly again there is a hypersecretion, but that hypersecretion is basically after the fusion of epiphysis. Now excessive growth of occur when there is cartilage is persist, and height is normal, but there is increase in thickness of the bone. Height is normal because epiphysis is already fused, so there are no chances that person diaphysis may become even larger, even longer. And acromegalic faces, person having a typical acromegalic faces. This is the figure. If possible, remember the figure. It will might be beneficial to you to remember the clinical features of acromegalic faces. First thing is the thick lips. Second one is the macroglossia, means enlarged tongue. And third one is thick nose, then prominent eyebrows, and last one is thick skin. These are the features of acromegalic faces. Let me give you a picture that you can easily incorporate and remember all these acromegalic faces. Yes, it is Great Khali, a WWE superstar, a Indian one, that having acromegalic face. Now there are certain other features also present in acromegaly. They are the prognathism. This is the diagram of the prognathism. This is the normal person, and this one is the person having acromegaly. You see there is a prolongation of a mandible. So basically person suffering from acromegaly has a tendency that their mandible will be elongated like this. So prognathism is known as a protrusion of the lower jaw due to elongation and widening of the mandible. Second features, that is large hand and feet, same as gigantism. Third one is the kyphosis. This is the diagram of kyphosis. Now what is kyphosis? Kyphosis is the abnormal vertebral growth. And last one is the abnormal excessive growth of the internal organ. Heart become enlarged, known as cardiomegaly. Liver, hepatomegaly. Spleen, known as splenomegaly, and renomegaly. So all the abdominal organ is going to get enlarged. There is a comment asked in this Saurashtra University paper. Both gigantism and acromegaly caused by hyperactivity of the growth hormone. Now what you should write it down in such type of comment. First thing first, hypersecretion of the growth hormone before fusion of the epiphysis, it will leads to abnormal height, and that condition is known as gigantism. How hypersecretion of the growth hormone after the fusion of the epiphysis, that condition person does not have a abnormal height is normal, and the person having acromegaly. So basically that's 4 line and you get 2 marks. Got it? Now again the second comment from the same description, excessive growth hormone during the childhood causes gigantism. You need to write it down all the things that we discussed in our previous slide. In gigantism, what they do, there is hypersecretion of the growth hormone before the fusion of the epiphysis. Now in this comment only single thing gigantism is asked. You need to add more sentence, obviously not more than 4 to 5. So epiphysis not fused with the shaft of the long bone is elongated continuously and resulting in tall stature, person become giant and large hand and feet. This last line, if possible, if you cannot write it down, that's okay. You need to write it down for first 4 line. Now dwarfism. Now what is dwarfism? Short stature. Now there are 2 types. Let's discuss this dwarfism in a slight detail. This dwarfism is 2 types: endocrinal causes and non-endocrinal causes. Now, as far as the endocrinal causes are concerned, growth hormone deficiency, panhypopituitarism, hypothyroidism, and Cushing's syndrome. So basically, deficiency of growth hormone, deficiency of thyroid hormone will causes endocrinal dwarfism, endocrinal abnormality. And Cushing's syndrome is the elevated glucocorticoid level that we discussed in our steroid hormone section. Now, non-endocrinal causes of the dwarfism is like this: familial dwarfism, achondroplasia, malnutrition, chromosomal abnormality like Turner syndrome. And in this slide, let me give you the few details about achondroplasia. Achondroplasia is a genetic disorder. It leads to dwarfism. Now, in this condition, the arm and leg are short while the torso is typically more or less normal length. Why I am going to give you the detail of achondroplasia? Because I am going to show you something in the next slide. That slide is like this one. You see, you might be familiar with this person. The name of the person is Peter Dinkle. He is a well-known artist. The award that is hold in his hand is the Grammy Award. He won for Game of Thrones character. Now, I show this figure under the heading of pituitary dwarfism, but he is not suffering from pituitary dwarfism. Instead, he is suffering from achondroplasia. So basically, his parents are average size, normal, but the problem is at the genetic level. Alright, in this in this TV series that is recently completed, Dance Plus, there is one more person suffering from achondroplasia. You might be known that person, Monarch Trivedi from Junagadh. Right, that person also suffering from achondroplasia. It does not have pituitary dwarfism. I use that figure because I want your attention to the lecture. That's why I use the Peter Dinkle figure. Now, what happens in pituitary dwarfism? Basically, there is a deficiency of growth hormone during childhood. What are the clinical features of the pituitary dwarfism? Now, in pituitary dwarfism, decreased growth of all part of the body proportionally. Right? In case of achondroplasia, the torso is more or less normal. Now, chronological age of a person 20-year-old is look like a 7 to 8-year-old child. And the another thing, that person having short stature, obviously. Then normal mental activity. That normal mental activity is present in pituitary dwarfism. That normal mental activity is absent in hypothyroidic dwarfism. This is the difference between pituitary dwarfism and hypothyroid dwarfism. You see, the person working as a dwarf in circus are suffering from pituitary dwarfism because they make you laugh. They have normal mental activity, while the hypothyroidic dwarfism has a abnormal mental activity. Third one is the fatness. Person look fat and the face face is still immature and delicate extremities and abnormal sexual maturation. These are the clinical features of pituitary dwarfism. The last slide of our today's lecture is panhypopituitarism. I do not give you a more detail of panhypopituitarism because it is not asked more in exam. You need to just enumerate this slide whenever there is a growth hormone abnormality asked. Now, as the name suggests, panhypopituitarism. So, all the hormone that is secreted by pituitary are at the low level. So, first enumerate the hormone: growth hormone deficiency, ACTH deficiency, TSH deficiency, and GnRH deficiency. Now, what happened in growth hormone deficiency? We already discussed in our previous 4 or 5 slides. So, no need to write it down in detail. Just let me give you another information in this slide. Growth is inhibited. Person become more sensitive to insulin. That information I do not share in our previous slide, because I would like to mention over here. Person become more sensitive to insulin. Why? Because growth hormone generally inhibiting the insulin action by increasing insulin sensitivity. So in adult there are slight amount of growth hormone. In adolescent there are moderate amount of growth hormone is already present. So if that growth hormone is absent, then insulin become more sensitive. Second one is ACTH deficiency. Now ACTH is going to work over the adrenal cortex. So if there is a deficiency of ACTH, adrenal cortex will be atrophied. there is a decrease in the growth of the adrenal cortex. Now, decrease glucocorticoid and sex hormone level. You see in this slide, I used only two hormone, glucocorticoid and sex hormone, that are going to decrease in ACTH deficiency. There is one more hormone that is secreted by adrenal cortex. That one is the aldosterone. I do not mention the aldosterone in this slide deliberately because the aldosterone regulation is done by mostly potassium level inside our blood and angiotensin 2 level inside our blood. Again, we are going to discuss that thing in detail in steroid hormone. So right now remember that ACTH only affect glucocorticoid and sex hormone synthesis more pronouncedly as compared to aldosterone. Alright. Now next one is TSH. TSH is going to work over the thyroid hormone, so the thyroid gland, so it decreases the thyroid function. And lastly, GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. That gonadotropin releasing hormone is not secreted normally. What will happen? There is decreased secretion of the decreased secretion of the FSH and LH, and ultimately gonads are atrophied and sexual cycle will stop. Some of the secondary sex characteristic will be disappear. Now growth hormone, this GnRH deficiency is also present in Kallmann syndrome that we are already discussed in our previous slide. You can remember the Kallmann syndrome, that in Kallmann syndrome there is a failure of migration of the GnRH neuron from the olfaction or olfactory area to the hypothalamus. Revise it if you do not remember it. That's it. That's all for our today's lecture. Thank you.